bit of research that was done, and they surveyed executives and customers for a company. So they surveyed executives, the business leaders of a company, and said, how good is the experience that you deliver to your customers? And 80% of them said, the experience that we deliver is great. It's is the best. But when compared to the responses of the actual customers, only 8% said that their experience in doing business with that company or organization was good, right? And so there's a 72-point perception gap on what sort of business leaders think, and reality of what the customer experience is. And that is that basically the discipline of customer experience management is focused on closing that gap, right? So one of the tools that we use, key tools that we use inside of Microsoft to help us better understand our customers and their experience is a journey map. And maybe in the chat, if you're familiar with journey maps, so you can chat in there and say, yes, you're familiar or something, if you're familiar with journey maps. So just kind of want to get a pulse of the audience there. But it's a visual representation of an individual's experience in service of accomplishing some goal or outcome, right? And it takes some things that are concepts that are soft and squishy, like human emotion, right? Feelings, and put some structure around it so that we can better manage it. So, when we're doing journey mapping, we're talking about this individual and what they want, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what they're doing in sort of the current state, and like, how do we want them to feel? What do we want them to think? And then again, we can make some investments in and trying to be able to manage that. So share with you another piece of research that was done. Research is also showing that 42% of top performing companies are leveraging AI to gain insights into their customer journey, right? And we think about a company as complicated as Microsoft, as many products that we have, as many different experiences. I talk with, obviously our product line and our customers range from, the biggest of the big commercial enterprises and, government organizations to, my kids, my 8-year-old who plays Minecraft on Xbox, right? So, we have lots of different journeys, lots of different customers, and, to be able to scale that understanding across such a diverse set is a challenge. So can you jump to the next slide, Fabio? So I want to get into some basic concepts of journey mapping, right? So I talked about how it starts with an individual. Well, it's very difficult to create experiences and curate experiences for individuals because it costs too much, and it might be cost prohibitive. And if you design a one-size-fits-all experience for everyone, it lacks empathy, right? And journey mapping and experience management is an exercise in building empathy and understanding, right? So we use we find a happy medium and use personas, which are archetypes of individuals with common characteristics. So part of this is understanding, like, what are the characteristics, attributes of these individuals that make them different, that lead them to perceive and experience differently, right? You think about geographic, differences, cultural differences. We think about, just a type of customer. If you're a consumer, commercial, if you're a public sector customer, if you're in the healthcare industry versus manufacturing or retail, right? So it's important to understand all those attributes and how they may be different. So we look at that individual and those personas, and they have a problem or goal that they have, and wants and needs that they're looking to satisfy as they progress through that journey, right? So we have down here this representation of the journey. A pretty standard Microsoft journey for at least our commercial customers is learn, try, buy, deploy, use, value. So those are stages. And, so my Six Sigma background, or if you're thinking about process mapping, these aren't necessarily process steps. There's lots of overlap. There's not necessarily a clear start and end to each of these. But it's a construct that allows us to be able to manage and look at these wants and needs as they go through the journey. And then when they go to satisfy these wants and needs, some of them are more important than others, what they're looking to satisfy. they go to touch points and they interact with these touch points to, satisfy these wants and needs. And these could be, it's important to be aware that these are touch points that, we as an organization, as a company might own. So our digital properties, our support center analysts, our salespeople, but also like, it could be, external third-party research or a YouTube channel or whatever. There's interactions that people are having all the time that help them formulate these perceptions. And the combination of these, the importance of the wants and needs, how difficult, the ease of satisfying those wants and needs, the importance of these touch points, how the ease and effort required to interact with those touch points culminate in what we call moments of truth. And that's anywhere along that journey where a customer's expectations are being tested. So, when we do journey mapping and we map this, we spend a lot of details mapping this out. We're looking for these moments of truth because those are the areas in which we need to sort of drill into and understand a lot better. You want to click to the next slide, Fabio? So look, customer experience is simple, but delivering it is hard, right? And so kind of tying this, the concepts that I introduced on the previous slide, the journey, we have a persona, an individual that is setting out to do something with or about our company or organization, right? And then they perceive that experience as something. And we think about how they perceive it as how useful, that interaction is, that experience is. So how much value they get out of it, ease, how much effort they have to put into it, and enjoyable is the emotional response that they're getting as they're doing business. So, and this has a lot to do with like the brand, right? So how they feel about doing business with Microsoft. Like our brand represents productivity, empowerment, accessibility, sustainability, right? We have a big environmental impact initiative going on, right? And that makes folks feel good about doing business with Microsoft. It's important to understand how those emotions impact their experience. And then, so they have these feelings and that compels them to do something else, right? So there's behaviors that are driven off of these feelings that they have that we can observe, right? And, obviously we want them to rebuy, we want them to increase their business, but what we really want them to do is start to recommend. And that is where some of the sort of flywheel growth effect happens. And, we drastically lower cost of customer acquisition to, increase our sales, right? Because people have great experiences. They can't imagine doing business with anybody other than your company. And, they start telling everybody about it, right? And there's this viral effect. Now, our challenge is, and I think this might have a build to it, Fabio, so give you another click, is that this middle part is whatever our customers think it is, right? And another bit of research that I'll share with you is that, for every customer complaint that that an organization gets, right? So every, person that, puts a comment card in the comment box, there's 26 others that remain silent. So, I go around inside of Microsoft when telling my colleagues that when customers call us to tell us that they have a problem, we should be very grateful because there's a lot of other customers that are just taking their business someplace else, right? So we need to be aware of that. And, through measurement, we can start to be able to manage this risk and improve our experience. Click to the next slide there. So I wanted to share with you some examples of the journey maps that we built and that we build inside of Microsoft. They're very high fidelity. And if you're familiar with journey mapping and persona development in your own organization, yours might look slightly differently. They have, some folks use avatars and things like that to represent individuals. But again, this is, as I mentioned, this is an exercise in building empathy. So we want to, really connect with these individuals in a human way. And, teams that are really good at using personas and journey maps start to refer to these folks, these individuals and Sam and Lisa here as real people, as we're designing the experiences and we're, sort of thinking about what they're feeling and what they're doing. Right. So we have this journey map and, we advocate inside of Microsoft for a collaborative workshop-based approach to formulating this initial hypothesis, so our internal baseline of the experience. Right. And again, kind of walking through this high level Microsoft journey, learn, try, buy, deploy, use, value, we can start to formulate hypotheses around where needs are being met, where we're falling short a lot, right? Where are the gaps? And then we can start to put some telemetry on how we monitor, their patterns of behavior as they progress through that journey. So these two examples are for a sales productivity journey. So these are customers that are purchasing dynamic CRM or ERP. This is actually CRM, so to increase sales productivity. So, lead to opportunity conversion and deal win rates, right? Marketing campaign effectiveness and things like that. So this is their journey. Those are the business problems that they're looking to solve. And then we can look at, how, what is their experience in working with Microsoft to solve those problems and achieve their goals of increasing their sales productivity. Go to the next slide. So I want to leave you with this and give you a little bit more sort of structure on some things that you might be thinking about if you're interested in implementing your own sort of persona and journey-based insights approach, right? And how this is going to connect to some of the things that Fabio is going to talk about in the next set of slides here. So, I kind of talked a little bit about, that internal workshop hypothesis formulation. Right? Before you even get to that, you want to start by scoping and making sure that, you're framing the business problem in the right way. Have a set of preliminary proto personas and maybe some initial requirements. Make sure you have the right set of stakeholders, because, you in formulating these hypotheses, you want to make sure that you have the right SMEs involved to help you create that, detailed journey map. And the output of that is just going to set you up really nicely for that internal workshop. And it's about it. You spend some time, look, and we definitely certainly get some pushback on the amount of hours it takes to run one of these workshops, but it's important. And it actually helps build sort of a common understanding across many different silos of functions that need to come together to deliver that end-to-end experience on what really matters and what's important. So it's important to invest that time. But once you have that journey map output, then you can start building some stuff from it. And I highly encourage anybody who's setting out to, investing any resources, and especially scarce engineering talent in, building new digital touch points or improving, is to actually go out and talk to customers and get some validation. But, in addition to some of this validation, you can build some other things like, what is your experience strategy? So once you have that understanding, you can think about what's your experience strategy. You can start to, inform your, experience design, right? You can start to define metrics and measurement to measure those patterns of behavior. And definitely you're going to go out and you're going to use the hypothesis to figure out what questions you're going to ask when you do a perception survey to go and capture that perception data. So you need to ask customers how they feel and gather that insight and pull that data together so that you can start to match it to the behaviors and other data about the customer's attributes and characteristics that can help you understand. And what Fabio is going to tell you is how you can predict, their satisfaction, their overall experience doing business with your company or in trying to solve that problem or goal that they have.